What's up, guys? So I feel like it's been a hot minute since I made a video, but I think it's actually only been like 3 days. No, 5, 4, I don't know, but since the end of Vlogmas I feel like it's been a while. So I thought it would be the perfect time to make a little video that I've been wanting to make for a while, and that is how I got into fitness, or my fitness journey, whatever you want to call it. So my bodybuilding.com entry video kind of touched on it a little bit, but I feel like this is tilting down. Okay, we're gonna just put this right, and my sweatshirt's about to fall off. We're gonna put this right there. Okay, that's better. So my bodybuilding.com video kind of touched on this a little bit, but this is something that I don't really talk about on social media like Instagram or anything like that. So I thought it would be a good idea to make this video so you guys can get to know me a little bit more, and just to kind of give you a little backstory on why I do the whole fitness thing. I don't know why I just put air quotes around fitness. So yeah. So growing up, I was never really the skinny child, I guess you could call it. I wasn't overweight, but I wasn't thin either. And I'll find a picture or something and I'll put it here. But I was never really like a small child. Short, yes. I don't even know what word to use. Like this way, no. And once I got to middle school, that never really changed. No one had ever made fun of me up until that point. It was just something that I myself was aware of. And then I got into middle school and I started to have some problems. One kid in particular I remember just went at it all the time, every single day. You know, you're fat, you're ugly, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then I remember going to one of my friend's birthday parties. It was like a sleepover, and she went to another school, so I didn't really know any of the girls there. And somebody, I forget who, like, honestly, this whole, like, time frame is a huge blur, so if I backtrack every once in a while or repeat myself, please forgive me. Anyway, so yeah, I went to a party, and one of these girls decided that we were going to play this game. And so you sat in a circle, and everyone went around and said something that they liked about the person next to them, and then something that they didn't like. And all I remember is one of the girls told me that I was really nice, like I was very kind, quiet, because I was very shy at this time. If you didn't talk to me, I didn't talk to you. But then she also said that I was fat or bigger. I don't remember the exact words, but it was something to that extent, and it really stuck with me. So after that, it was like my goal to lose weight. I was like, you're gonna lose weight. I even made like a list. I wrote it down because, you know, even at that age, I knew if you write down your goals, you're more likely to accomplish them. But as a 6th grader or 5th grader, whatever grade I was in, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to lose weight. So that happened. It always stuck with me, but I never really did anything about it after that, until I got to maybe the summer after 6th grade, 7th grade. I decided, well, I'm really going to try to lose weight. The only thing I knew how to do was like cut out snacks and stuff like that. So I stopped eating snacks at night. I stopped eating snacks during the day, and that was only where it started. I don't know if this is when it happened or not. Like I said, this whole time period is just a blur. So that's only where it started. Me stopping eating snacks and stuff like that eventually led to me, the size of my breakfast got smaller. I would only pick on pretzels or something like that, something small at lunch, like a yogurt or some pretzels. That was my lunch. And then I would eat like a normal dinner. Like at this point, a normal dinner for me was like a chicken parm, so like a frozen chicken patty with some sauce and cheese on top. It was like a chicken parm sandwich. That was like a dinner for me, and then maybe like something on the side like pretzels. I really loved pretzels. I still do. But, and then yeah, I wouldn't eat again until the next morning. My breakfasts were tiny. Again, it was like a yogurt or something. And that kept going. I started to see like the pounds drop off, and I was like, oh, this is great. Let's keep this up. Let's intensify this. So that eventually led to me not eating lunch altogether. Like, I would eat my little yogurt breakfast, go to school. I wouldn't really eat lunch, and then I would go home, have a snack, eat dinner, and wouldn't eat again until the next morning. Somewhere in this time, either 7th or 8th grade, I went and I interviewed to go to the Barbizon Modeling School. That's in Harrisburg. I know there's like a bunch of different ones all over the country, but the one I went to was in Harrisburg. And I really wanted to be a model at that point in my life. Like, I looked up to the Victoria's Secret models. I still do. I think they're gorgeous, but I looked up to them. I wanted to look like them. I wanted to be skinny. And that was my goal. So I got into the Barbizon Modeling School, and I started going there on my weekends. And that was when I got to my lowest weight. I remember we did a unit one weekend on food and weight and stuff like that. I don't exactly remember. But we all had to get weighed, and I remember my lowest weight being 88 pounds. I was a stick. You could see my ribs, you could see my collarbones. I mean, I've always had very prominent, move my hair, very prominent collarbones, but they were like sticking out. It was scary. My face was like sunken in, my eyes were sunken in. I look back on pictures now and it scares me to death, like, that I did that to myself. But I don't remember if that was, like, they had us fill out a food diary. I remember that. And then we got weighed, like I said, and I kind of feel like I remember the teacher telling me that that was great, like that was a great weight or something, or that I needed to lose like a little bit more. I don't really remember exactly, but I feel like in my head that's kind of what happened. So yeah, that was probably not the best thing for me to be doing at that point in my life. I mean, it was a great experience, don't get me wrong. I learned a lot. I learned how to walk. I learned how to speak in front of people. I had always had a fear of speaking in front of people. I still don't like it, but I think I've come a long way, and I'm more comfortable now than I've ever have been. And I think that was, the start of that, because we had to memorize a monologue and video ourselves doing it, and then do it in front of the class. Like, we had to do that every week, because that was part of our graduation, reading our monologues. And yeah, so it was a great experience, but it was probably not the best thing for me then. Like I said, that was when I got to my lowest weight. That number will forever be ingrained in my head, 88 pounds. I got so made fun of in school. I think I got made fun of more in school then, when I was really skinny, than when I was bigger in elementary school, middle school. Kids are cruel. It was the lowest point in my life. I remember getting on the bus one day, and I have like a group of friends, or I had a group of friends that I would sit with on my bus. We all live in the same development. We still do, actually. They're great girls, but we would always sit together on the bus. And the one day on the way home from school, I remember getting on, and there weren't really any seats. They were sick that day. I had to sit with some girl who was in a grade younger than me that I'd never met before in my life. I have no idea to this day who she is. I can picture her in my head, but I have no idea. And I just remember her looking at me and saying, "Are you the anorexic girl?" And I kept myself together until I got home, and then I like flipped out. I was so upset. I don't remember if I cried that day, but the next day, or sometime like close to that, maybe it could have been like a week later. It's all just such a blur anymore. But I remember getting called down to the guidance counselor's office because apparently my friends and teachers were like worried about me or something, and this guidance counselor went about talking to me all the wrong way. He was like, "We think, are you okay? You know, people are worried about you. They think you're not eating." And then he went and accused my parents of neglecting me. And I started bawling right there. Like, it's one thing to ask someone with a mental issue, a mental and physical issue, if they're okay, you know, what's wrong with them, we want to help you. That's one thing. But to then accuse that person's parents of neglecting them and blame that person's parents for what's wrong in their head, in their mind, that's a whole nother thing. I was so pissed off the rest of the day. I went home and curled up on the recliner and bawled my eyes out. I think I must have cried for like 2 or 3 hours because I remember still crying when my mom got home from work at 5 o'clock. Like, I just don't understand what kind of person does that. Like, I realized that they were worried about me, and that's great that, you know, but my parents are the best people that I know. They would never neglect their children, and that was what bothered me the most about that meeting. So it got so bad that by the end of my 8th grade year, I was about to move on from middle school to high school. My mom actually pulled me out of school 2 or 3 weeks before it was over. I did all the rest of my homework at home. Someone came and dropped it off every day, and I finished 8th grade at home. The summer that followed was filled with lots of doctor's appointments and nutritionalists. Nutritionalist, Megan, what are you doing? You're in college for this. Doctor's appointments and nutritionist appointments to figure out, you know, everybody just wanted to figure out what was wrong with me and get it fixed. They didn't know that I was like restricting my eating, and I didn't tell them. I knew there was nothing wrong with me, but I didn't tell them that, you know, I was restricting my eating. And my one pediatrician actually was like, you know, she said out loud, she was like, you know, you're anorexic and stuff like that. And because I was trying to hide it, you know, I got so mad and I haven't gone to that doctor since. Because my mom's great and she looks out for me. And we don't like that doctor anymore. But yeah, it was filled with lots of doctor's appointments, lots of nutritionist visits. I had to drink those like Ensure shakes that were like 13 grams of fat, and I forget how many carbs and protein, but it was filled with fat and carbs and protein and basically everything that you need to make you gain weight. I remember like hating it. I had to drink them like 3 times a day in between every single meal. And I hated it because I was like, there's 13 grams of fat in this. It's gonna make me fat. Little did I know at that time that wasn't the case. Fat doesn't make you fat. But what are you gonna do when you're a dumb 8th grader, you know? So I drank those shakes 3 times a day and went back to having my ice cream snacks at night because I had just gotten to the point where I was like so hungry. And when you get down to such a low weight like I did, it gets really hard to put the weight back on. Actually, before I even started going to the doctors and the nutritionist, I had started eating my like nightly ice cream again. I would come home from school and eat like cheese and crackers or like a little salad. And then I would have like my normal dinner. And then, like I said, my ice cream snack at night. I would have like 2 bowls of ice cream, like this big. It's so hard to like flip my hands. Like this big, like 2 bowls of ice cream. And topped with like sprinkles and stuff like that. I've always loved sprinkles, but yeah, I just couldn't put the weight back on. So that was when, you know, we started going to the doctors and the nutritionists, and that was when all the shakes started and stuff like that. And after I got approved to stop drinking the shakes, does that mean my camera's dying? I don't know. I had like 18% left, so I guess I need to wrap this up. But yeah, that's when I started running, and that became my outlet. Running became my outlet. So I started off doing like 1 or 2 miles a day, and during the time that I was homeschooled after that, because I was homeschooled 9th and 10th grade, I got my mileage up to about 5 miles a day, 4 or 5 miles a day. And that was 7 days a week. And my camera's gonna die, so we're gonna see how much I can get out of this. Maybe I'll make 2 parts. But yeah, running became my outlet, and that became my way to stay skinny and keep the weight off. I still wanted to look like the Victoria's Secret models. I still wanted to be skinny, but I knew that I had to eat. I knew I had to eat at this point to stay healthy and stay alive. And actually, before I started homeschooling, I had felt so guilty about not eating that I couldn't go to bed one night because I felt so bad, and I just knew like God was telling me that I had to, you know, tell my mom what I had done. So I went and I asked her, you know, can I talk to you? She came into my room. We talked for a little bit. I was crying. I told her, you know, I had been restricting my eating. I hadn't been eating on purpose, but I was done with it. I wasn't going to do it again, ever. And I just remember crying, and when I told her that, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I just felt so much better, and I was able to sleep that night. And yeah, so I haven't done anything like that since. Anyway, back to running and stuff like that. So when I went back to high school in 11th grade, because I gotten tired of being homeschooled, I was getting depressed. That was when I went through like my little emo phase, and because I went to like an art school too, so it was a little much. I got really depressed because I didn't like it. I didn't like being at home. There was no socialization.